I'd like to welcome y'all back to another episode of Beyond the Fear podcast, a place where y'all come for motivation, inspiration, uplifting, and overall positive message. And man, the other day I was reminded of an important lesson that I learned sometime last year, and that's as you start to grow on your healing journey, your mental health journey, whatever journey you're on, spiritual health, whatever it is, as you start to grow in those journeys, your perspective starts to grow as well. So things that made you laugh may not make you laugh. Things that made you angry and upset may not make you angry and upset. Things that made you confused, you may understand. And things that you thought you understood, they may confuse you now because your perspective is changing. You're broadening your view. You're starting to allow things in that you wouldn't. Certain things that you would do without even thinking. You kind of you think about for a second. So one of the things for me is I try to catch myself when I feel myself getting ready to talk about myself in a negative way, when I'm getting ready to say something like, oh, I'm so lazy and things like that. I try to catch myself now and not to even speak that, not to even put that out there in the air, to try to, say, hey, I'm working on that. I'm working on, getting motivated. I'm working on my procrastination, instead of saying I am this, I just try to say I'm working on this, or I'm getting better with it, things like that. So I'm more conscious about what I say, especially about myself. And that was something that I would have never thought about before I started, my mental health journey and, just healing from everything, because my perspective has started to change because I've opened my mind and I've been way more receptive to stuff, more receptive to the idea of change. I was a big, I want things done my way type of person. And I had to realize that, life doesn't work that way. And the more that you try to do it your way and only your way, and you're closed minded to everything else, the more life will hit you because you're not willing to pivot. You're not willing to adjust your plans. You're not willing to change anything because you want it to look a certain way. You wanted to look how you wanted to look. And that isn't always life. Now, when it lines up that way, perfect. That's great. But how do you handle when things don't line up that way? And so that was one of the things that I struggled with a lot. I still have my struggles here and there, but it's nowhere near as much as it used to be because life not going my way used to cripple me, used to have me just like, I don't know which way to go. I don't know which way is up. Whereas now it's more like, oh man, that sucks. And sometimes I'll miss that first exit. Like I know I need to make this exit because life isn't going the way I need to. I need to make this detour. And I may have to make that second detour because I may miss the first one. But before I would just keep bumping my head up against that wall. So again, perspective changes, and as you grow, that doesn't, and you get out of certain places, you start to elevate the way you think, you start to elevate the way you talk, you start to elevate um you know the places you're going or the people you're around. You start to be more intentional about the energy that you keep around you, the type of mindsets of the people who are around you. Start paying attention to all those things. And that does not mean that you're better than anyone else. It just means that you're in a different place. And so, like I said the other day, I was just kind of reminded of, I'm starting to go into places that are different than some of the people, some of my friends that I, talk to and that I hang with. Again, does not make me better, does not mean anything. It just means that we're in different spaces. And so sometimes when I talk about stuff, they hear me nagging, or they take it as me bragging or me talking down, when really it's like I'm learning something new, whether that's in therapy, watching different types of TikToks, whatever it is. I'm learning new perspectives. I'm learning to see things from different perspectives, different lights. And so when I bring it into my friendship groups, it's not always receptive because, again, they're still in a space that we may have all been in together at one point in time. And so as I'm starting to leave those spaces or those ways of thinking, yeah, I'm starting to realize that, yeah, some people may follow along. Other people, are going to stay there, and it just takes time for them to get to where they need to be. And you can't rush their process because their process is their process. And so it was just having a conversation. It was very frustrating because it's like you can see greatness in the people, like in your friends. I can see greatness in my friends, and I want to see the greatness shine. I want to see the greatness come out. I want to see that thing that's inside of them that makes them great, that's shining, but it's very dim because it's buried so deep under a lot of trauma, a lot of, just work that needs to be done. I want to see them doing the work to uncover and, and to bring that shine out. But I have to also realize that that's their journey and that's their process and they have to go through it, because how many people looked at me and thought the same thing? Oh man, I see the light in DJ, but DJ isn't ready. DJ isn't receptive to trying to go to therapy. DJ isn't receptive to trying to have a new way of thinking or thinking outside the box or looking at things from this perspective or trying to understand from this person's perspective, even though this person may have hurt DJ, but can DJ at least see things from this perspective? Can DJ get out of his take a step back from his frustration or from his pain, this hurt that he's feeling to, and I just wasn't in that space. And excuse me. And now that I am, I have to now in turn remember that everybody has their time and their journey. So I could see something in someone and I could see how amazing they could be if they start working on this or they start trying to change this viewpoint, but I can't force them to do that. That's something that they have to want to do. And when I try to talk about it, again, sometimes it comes across as me being arrogant or me feeling like I'm greater than or me looking down on them, when really it's just me saying, hey, I see something in you that you haven't even tapped into, you know. But again, if they're not trying to hear that, or if they're not in a place to receive that, then of course it's going to always sound like um, something negative. It's going to sound like you're nagging or something along those lines. It's never going to sound like the compliment that you mean it to be. It's never going to sound like the motivation that you mean it to be, because they're not ready to receive that. And that's just something that, it kind of reminded me of dealing with a situation that I was dealing with the other day. It's like I see greatness in my friend, but because they're not ready, they're not in a space where they're ready to do the work to unlock that greatness, to start to dig away that trauma that's got that talent buried. You know what I'm saying? That's that's covering that bright light and that talent, all that trauma. They're not ready to unpack that. And I had to kind of take a step back and realize that, hey, if it's not their time, it's not their time. Meaning if they're not ready, they're not ready. The best thing I can do is take a step back, give them some space. Hopefully they see that what I was trying to do was encourage, not to discourage, not to frustrate them or anything like that, but just to try to encourage them the best way I know how. Obviously, I'm not an expert at this. I'm just one of them people. Like, as I learn, I try to give back to the people, to give back to my friends as I learn, as I find out things that help me in the way that I think. I do my best to give it to them. And again, sometimes it's received well, sometimes it isn't. But I also have to understand that I don't have to feel bad for being in a better place than what I was. Not a better place than where they are, but in a better place than where I was, comparing myself to myself, realizing that I'm in a better space mentally, I'm in a better space emotionally, I'm in a better space spiritually. You know what I'm saying? I'm in better places in certain parts of my life, and that's okay. I don't have to hide that. It's okay for me to want to brag about me being in better spaces, but also not everything I say is me bragging. Sometimes me saying something is just, I used to think like that. This is what helped me. I used to feel like that. This is what helped me. I used to do that. This is what helped me. And this is what I realized when I was doing this, or when I was feeling that, or when I was saying that. This is how it hurt me. And this is how it hurt relationships. This is how it hurt friendships. This is how it hurt bonds that I was having. This is how it hurt me personally, and me trying to grow and me trying to better myself, you know. that's not from my perspective, that's not me bragging. That's me trying to say, hey, I see something in you that I used to do or that I still may do. And this is what I've seen over time, how it hurts me. And this is what I've done to help me stop thinking that way, or to stop doing that, or to stop saying that, or to at least try to catch myself as I'm doing it, because I understand that these changes aren't going to happen overnight. These are bad habits that we've all built up over years, of living. So to expect everything to change overnight is unrealistic. But if you can start catching it. If we can start replacing that bad habit with a good habit, with a healthy habit. So for example, like I said, when I catch myself talking about myself in a negative light, I try to do better with, catching myself and starting to talk about myself in a positive light. And vice versa, especially when I'm talking about other people, I do my best to try to catch myself to stop talking about other people in negative lights and um, try to talk about them from a positive space. And that sometimes is hard. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't always catch myself with that one as much as I do with myself. So again, a lot of work that I have to keep doing. But I am conscious of, and I am conscious of doing my best to just try to talk life and positivity into myself, into the people around me, into the situations around me. Again, I'm human. I have my bad days, but I still do my best to try to stay in that lane of positivity. So even when I was going through the situation the other day with my friend, I realized that certain conversations we just cannot have until they start doing the work, because no matter how much I try to be positive, no matter how much I try to show love, no matter how much I try to show that I care and all of these things, it's going to come across as me being arrogant, me being braggadocious, me looking down on them, because that's what they see. They still see me in the place that I was, and when I'm talking to them, they are viewing me from the standpoint of where I was instead of where I am now. And where I am now is a person who, again, not perfect, nowhere near perfect, will never ever say that I am, will never pretend to be, but is in a better space than where I was. Not a better space than them, but a better space than where I was mentally, emotionally. So when I see things, when I see them reacting to stuff in the way that they used to, I try to catch it and I try to talk to them about it. But again, it's a lot of the time it comes across to them as me talking down or me being negative, as opposed to me as opposed to me speaking life into them and trying to get them, hey, remember you said you was going to work on this, you was going to work on reacting to certain things in a negative way, you're going to work on having conversations and try to nip certain things in the bud before they grow into bigger, worse things. Start catching these things. And so when you're having these conversations, again, when they're not ready to hear them, of course, it comes across as just criticism and, talking down and all of that stuff. But in the past, that was my sign to kind of just be quiet, not be the type of friend to them that I want to be, but to try my best to still support in as many ways as I can. But it was very, what's the word, stifling, I guess, mentally and emotionally, because it's like, I want to say something because they just did something that they said that they would want to try to stop doing, but I'm also not trying to come across as this arrogant a-hole. I'm trying to find that balance of being the type of friend I want to be, and while still trying to be the friend that they want me to be. And what I realize is I can't do both. You know what I'm saying? Like yesterday showed me that I can't do both. I have to decide, am I either going to be the friend that I want to be and have those tough conversations, those real conversations, and trust that our bond is strong enough to handle it? Or am I going to continue to stifle myself mentally, emotionally when I'm talking to them, and, let them do what they want to do and be be a yes man. And I just realized I can't do that. I can, but I don't want to do that, because I know that it's starting to slowly kill me on the inside. You, again, emotionally and mentally talking to them, but allowing things to keep happening that they say they want to change, that they realize are hurting not just themselves, but friendships, family, bonds, whatever the case may be. And so I just realized I can't stay silent, because when I'm silent, my silence is also my agreement in whatever activity that they're doing. That's me saying it's okay. And I don't want to be that type of friend anymore. And if that means that I have to let some friendships go, whether that's for a season or forever, then so be it. But I have to stop being afraid to be myself and to talk about how much therapy has helped me, and talk about how much I've learned and how much I've grown, and to share that with people, and to, well, I want people to hold me accountable, and I want to be able to hold other people accountable. I want the people asking me, hey, did you go to the gym today? Hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you record today? Whatever the case may be. And I want to be able to do the same for people, for the people that I love, for the people that are around me. I want us to all hold each other accountable for the things that we need to be doing. And I just don't feel like, and I understand that it takes you being in a certain place for that to happen. Because 2, 3 years ago, I was just like a lot of my friends. I was in a place where I didn't want to hear that, where deep down I knew this person is right, what they're saying is right, but I just don't care. I don't want to hear that. I want the yes man. I want people telling me that I'm doing good. I want people to just talk about or highlight the good that I'm doing. I don't want anybody to talk about none of the negative. And so that's more of what I'm experiencing, because even when I'm highlighting all the good that I see my friends doing, because I understand the importance of also highlighting the good, highlighting the good behavior, highlighting the changes that they've made, highlighting, hey, you handle that a lot better than you used to. You know what I'm saying? I understand the importance of that, but there should be room, there should be space for me to be able to also highlight, hey, you're doing that thing again. Hey, what did we say? What did we discuss about, you talking like that, or that particular subject, or whatever the case may be, us having those real conversations. And I know that that's what I want to be able to talk to my friends and have real conversations, and to hold each other accountable when we do wrong, hold each other accountable for doing wrong. When something's good, hold each other accountable for whatever the good may be. When we decided we want to do something, holding each other accountable for each person getting their part done. And that's a big part of where I'm trying to go. I know I said, or at least I think I said on the podcast a few episodes ago, that, I just want to be real intentional. That's my word this year, is just intentional. So with every move that I make, purpose and intention. With every move that I make, I'm trying to move with a purpose. I'm trying to move with intention. Every conversation that I have, I want to find the purpose and intention in everything. So all my conversations, all the people that I talk to, all the people that I'm around, every building that I walk into, I'm trying to find the purpose and the intention behind everything that I do. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I understand some of it is just to have fun. Other parts are going to be just entertainment. But I want it to be more than that. I want there to be something there. I want to find purpose in things. And excuse me, I feel like part of my purpose, especially when it comes to my friends, just like when I do these podcasts, is just to talk about the things that I've learned in therapy and how I've started to grow. And hopefully it touches somebody. Hopefully somebody hears this and is like, man, I needed this in this moment, in this season in my life. This is talking to me. This is talking about what I'm going through. This is really helping me. And that's the main thing. And I have to just surround myself around people who want to talk about those things, who want to get better, who want to put the work in, who are serious about improving. You know what I'm saying? Because anybody can talk about improving, but it's another thing to actually go and do the work. And again, as somebody who understands how hard that work is, not just me working on my mental through therapy and through, the work that I'm doing, but also physically, with the gym and my eating habits. It's a lot. A lot goes into healing your body. A lot goes into healing your mind. A lot goes into healing healing your emotions through dealing with their trauma. It's very scary, especially in the beginning. So I understand the hesitation that people have, because that's a scary thought. That's a big mountain to try to climb. You know what I'm saying? If you've lived your life a certain way where you just eat what you want to eat, you do what you want to do, you say what you want to say, and it's like you'll apologize or whatever. it's hard to be accountable when you haven't had to be accountable. That's a lot. It's a big load that you have to take because now you have all of these feelings, other people's feelings that you have to now take into consideration. But what I will say is that it's rewarding once you start to stop seeing the negativity in everything. Don't look at all that hard work as something negative. Look at it as your project. Love yourself enough to see yourself as this beautiful thing. You know what it can be when the work is done. Once you've with a house, once you've cleaned it out, you've restructured the foundation, you start to put some new paint up, new floors, new appliances, new design, and you know how amazing you can take something like an old shack and turn it into a beautiful home. Like that's what you're doing. You're restoring yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And that takes a lot of work, but that work is rewarding, especially when you start to see yourself change, or when, especially, or even more when other people start to see the change, when other people start to see you losing the weight, when other people start to see, oh man, you're handling things better. You're doing better with your anger. You're doing better with this and with that, how you handle people, how you talk to people. You start to see those changes and that's rewarding, but you have to start the work to get there. And for the people who are doing it, don't be, if you are around people who make you feel bad for growing, then those might not be the people you need to be around. If you have people who make you feel like you're turning into a snob, you're turning into an arrogant person just because you love to talk about how much you've grown or how much you've learned about yourself, about the traumas that you've been through, or just about healing, period, in any form or fashion, and they make you feel bad about it, they may not be the right people to be around because you healing, you growing, you improving, getting better, those are things to be celebrated. Be around the people who celebrate those things. And again, it does not mean that those people who try to make you feel bad are bad people. They just may not be in a place to understand what you're going through. They may not be in a place to receive the lessons that you're trying to give. Doesn't make them bad. It just means that they're in a place where they're not willing to receive it. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't still, try to give it if you can. But if giving it is starting to put you in a place where you feel compromised or you feel like um, that friendship, that relationship, or whatever it is starting to turn sour, then you may have to remove yourself from that situation. And don't look at it as a loss, look at it as a gain, because you may be removing yourself again. It may just be for a season or it may be forever, who knows? But you removing yourself from that now frees up space for you to go and find those people, or for those people to find you who want to hear what you have to say, who are trying to learn, who are maybe going down the path that you went down, and you can help them catch whatever lessons you had to learn the hard way. You can catch them before they have to go and learn those lessons the hard way as well. There's a lesson in everything. Everything happens for a reason. We may not always understand the lesson. We may not always understand the reason. The reason may not show itself until 2 years from now. You may look back, oh, I remember when this happened 2 years ago. That stuff happening 2 years ago put me in a position to be here. And this is what I'm here for. That's why that happened. It's all this correlation with things. But sometimes it is addition by subtraction. Sometimes by removing yourself from situations or subtracting people from your life, you're adding. You may be adding joy. You may be adding happiness. You may be taking away stress, which now makes more room for whatever, you're trying to feel. You just never know the type of anchor people are being in your life until you start to remove those things and you start to realize, okay, I'm not as stressed. Okay, I do feel a burden taken off of my shoulders, a weight taken off of my shoulders now that I'm not around this person, or I'm not constantly trying to feel like I'm hitting a brick wall talking to this person, trying to show them, the error or whatever in their ways, whatever, the case may be, because it may not be their time to learn. They may still have to, some people just got to learn the hard way. I know with certain lessons I had to learn the hard way, and some of them I'm still learning the hard way. But I'm doing my best to learn. I'm doing my best to not keep bumping my head and not keep going through the same things without learning the lesson and trying my best to apply it. Not just learning it, but also now applying it to my everyday life. And as I'm going on my walk and my journey, and I'm finding my purpose, and I'm finding my, you know, and I'm being intentional in everything that I'm doing. I'm trying to apply all the lessons that I've learned over these past couple of years, or these last year and a half of, this journey of healing and growing, and I'm trying to find myself, trying to find my purpose, trying to find who I am. But I'll, and again, I think for me, I'm just learning how the type of friend that I want to be to other people, the type of friend that I'm trying to be, that I feel I'm called to be. And that's somebody who wants that accountability. I want people to hold me accountable, but I also want to be able to hold other people accountable. And I also want to be able to talk to people, especially if I see them going down a road that I went down, or I see them thinking in ways that I used to think. And I see that it's hurting them. It's not allowing them to grow, because they're so stuck, on that hurt, on that pain, and they're so attached to it that it becomes their identity. I can relate to that so much, because that's who I was. I didn't know how to let go of hurt. I didn't know how to let go of pain. So when I see my friends doing the same thing, it's only natural for me, without even thinking, to want to say, hey, I used to be like that. You're not going to get anywhere like that. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. When you're angry, when you're upset, when you're frustrated, when you're going through those things, you don't want to hear that. You may not want to hear that in that moment, because I can look back on how many times my mom would tell me the exact same thing as she was on her walk to find, to get closer to God. And she would just talk to me about stuff in the Bible and how to handle situations. And it was just like I wasn't ready to hear it. So it would go in one ear and out the other, because I just wasn't in a space to hear that. And I had to realize that, now that I'm kind of in certain situations, I'm on the other side, and I'm trying to talk to people about, hey, the way you handling this, or the way you're viewing this, or the way you're thinking, it may not be the best for you. I have to understand that people just don't want to hear that sometimes. But I also have to realize that that isn't my problem. That doesn't mean that because they're not in a space to hear it, they may look at it as me being arrogant, me being stuck up, me thinking I'm higher than I am. But how they feel about me, or how they view me, isn't my responsibility. My responsibility is to just be who I am, and to make sure that when I am talking, I'm talking with the intent to help better that person, or my intent to help teach what I've learned, and stay intentional with what I'm doing. Make sure that I'm not trying to be arrogant. Make sure that my intent is not to make them feel less than, to make sure that my intent is just to show love, to show positivity, to show understanding, to show, hey, there's a better way, to show I understand, I can relate because I was once there. Let me show you what I do to help me get out of that space, of that mindset, whatever the case may be. And as long as my intentions are pure, I can't worry about how that makes other people feel, because it's going to make some people feel a way. It's going to make them feel like I think that I'm superior to them, when I'm not. I'm just someone who knows, hey, being in that hateful, hurtful place, can you just dig in a pit and it's just getting deeper and deeper. I'm just trying to extend my hand out to help lift you up, because I had so many people do the same thing for me. And, I swatted a few hands away, but eventually, once I got to a place to where I'm starting to be so isolated, and I can't blame every single person. At some point, I have to look in the mirror and realize that my attitude, my way of thinking, the way I react to certain things contributes heavily to me being so isolated. So when I need people to help get me out of these holes, whether it's the depression or the hate, the anger, the frustration, I needed people to help get me out of those holes, but I had nobody. I look around and I have nobody. Now I want to be mad at them. Like, where were you when I needed you? But in truth, they were there, but I turned them away. And I said no, and I swatted at their hand because I wasn't ready to hear it. Because what comes with someone helping you out of that is also lessons. And you got to be willing to hear those lessons. You got to be willing to hear, man, you were a hole. Man, you were a terrible person. Man, you were um, verbally, emotionally abusive. You know what I'm saying? And those were things that I did not want to hear because I wasn't ready to hear them. I wasn't ready to look in that mirror and to check myself about who I was and, you know, where I'm trying to go. And once I got to a place where I wanted to be in that space, nobody was around, and I couldn't blame them because when they were around and when they were trying to do it, I wasn't trying to hear it. And so now I'm in that space where I'm trying to be the person trying to help lift somebody out of that depression, trying to help lift somebody out of that pain, out of that hurt, but they don't want to hear, they're not ready to look in the mirror. They're not ready to see, you know, the, at least part of the reason why they're in that space is because of who they are and how they've been and how they've treated people. And excuse me, it just made me realize that it's okay. Both things can be true. I can want to help people, but I can also realize that I just have to do my best to help from a distance. You know, and I don't have to help. I don't have to be as close as, you know, I don't have to be up close to help. I can help from a distance. I can show love and support from a distance. I can be as supportive as I possibly can be from a distance. And that's okay because sometimes that's just what they need, you know, especially when, again, they don't see you in this new space that you're in, this new emotional and mental space that you're in. They're just still looking at you from that person that you used to be and thinking, oh, you just doing all this talk, but they don't see all the work that you're doing. They don't see how much you've changed. They don't see how much you've grown because they're not with you every single day. They're not in your head. So they don't know that you remember when stuff happened, you used to think like this, but now you're thinking a different way. So when you come and talking to them, they think that you're still talking from that old space that you're in, when in truth, you're talking from this new space. But until they're ready to accept that, ain't much you can really do but show love, support from a distance and be okay with that. But man, that's it for today's episode. I want to thank everybody for listening on whatever platforms y'all are listening on. I appreciate all the love that I've been getting. And to everybody watching on TikTok, please continue to like, comment, share, subscribe. Appreciate all the love I'm getting on there as well. And y'all already know, until the next time we meet, y'all stay blessed.